Noah Bennett had driven through 100 small towns in his life, but Redstone Ridge felt different the moment he crossed its dusty entrance sign. The road stretched endlessly across the Wyoming plains, framed by golden grass that swayed like waves beneath an open, indifferent sky. He had come to fix a faulty pump on a remote ranch, nothing more, nothing less. Work always offered a clean escape, a place where tools and tasks kept his mind from wandering back to the pieces of himself he was still trying to gather. The ranch sat at the end of a winding trail, its fences weathered yet sturdy, its barn painted a fading red that suggested years of quiet endurance. Noah stepped out of his truck, inhaling the crisp scent of hay and morning frost. He reminded himself this was just another job, another chance to keep moving forward without asking too many questions about where he was really headed. He was unloading his equipment when a figure emerged from behind the barn, a tall cowboy with sun-browned skin, boots coated in dust, and a posture that radiated quiet confidence. The man tipped his hat as he approached, dark hair falling slightly into his eyes. "You must be Noah," he said, voice calm and steady. "I'm Caleb Walker. Appreciate you coming out this far." Noah nodded, surprised by the warmth in Caleb's tone. "No problem at all. You said your pump's been acting up for a couple weeks." "Longer than it should have," Caleb replied, offering a rueful smile. "But things get busy around here. Sometimes you don't notice what's breaking until it finally gives out." Noah wasn't sure if Caleb meant the pump, or something else entirely. Still, he followed the cowboy toward the well system, carrying his toolbox while studying the man's movements. Caleb walked with a deliberate grace, every step revealing strength shaped by years of long days and unspoken responsibilities. There was something modest yet magnetic about him, a softness beneath the rugged frame that caught Noah off guard. The well pump sat beside a wooden shed, its pipes corroded, bolts rusted from neglect. Noah crouched down and began inspecting the damage. Caleb lingered nearby, close enough for Noah to notice the faint scent of cedar soap and worn leather. "You always work alone?" Caleb asked, leaning against the post most of the time. "Keeps things simple," Noah replied, focusing on the bolts even as part of his attention drifted toward the cowboy. "And you? Someone else live out here with you?" Caleb hesitated, eyes shifting briefly toward the ranch house before returning to Noah. "I've got someone, not here today, though. He travels for work." The unspoken tension in Caleb's voice was unmistakable. Noah didn't push. He simply nodded, tightening the wrench and letting the conversation settle into a quiet lull. He had no intention of prying into a stranger's life, especially when his own heart still carried fissures he hadn't found words for. A cold wind swept across the field, tossing loose strands of hay into the air. Caleb stepped closer, shielding his eyes from the gust. "Weather's changing faster than we expected. Might storm tonight. Then I should figure out what's wrong before the rain makes it worse," Noah replied. As Noah worked, Caleb watched with an attentiveness that felt oddly personal. Every so often, he offered help, passing a tool, steadying a pipe, brushing dirt aside, but each small gesture carried a quiet intimacy neither fully acknowledged. Noah felt it anyway, a warmth building beneath the surface, subtle yet undeniable. When the first drops of rain began to fall, Caleb gestured toward the barn. "Let's take cover before it gets rough." Inside, the barn was dim and peaceful, filled with the earthy aroma of hay and old wood. The patter of rain echoed against the tin roof, creating a cocoon of sound that made the world outside feel distant. Noah set his tools aside, brushing off his jacket, while Caleb leaned against a stall door, arms folded as though gathering his thoughts. "Thanks for coming all the way out here," Caleb said quietly. "Not everyone would make the drive." "It's my job," Noah answered, though the simple reply felt hollow. For some reason, Caleb's gratitude meant more than it should have. The cowboy studied him for a long moment, expression gentle yet searching. "Still, it's good to have someone around. The place gets quiet." Noah understood that feeling far too well. The air between them shifted, subtle, delicate, but charged with something neither had expected. Neither moved closer, yet both felt the invisible pull. Outside, the rain intensified, turning the ranch into a blur of silver. Inside, the silence between them deepened into something unspoken and dangerous. Noah wasn't sure what the next few hours would bring, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty: this job was already becoming far more complicated than he had planned. The storm passed slowly, leaving a pale gray sky smeared across the horizon. By morning, the ranch felt washed clean, though Noah sensed a heaviness lingering in the air between him and Caleb Walker, something fragile, unspoken, and impossible to classify. He rose early, determined to finish diagnosing the pump before emotions made the job any harder. Yet when he stepped outside, Caleb was already waiting near the fence line, holding 2 steaming mugs. "Thought you might want coffee," Caleb said, offering one with a small, hesitant smile. Noah accepted it, surprised by how natural the gesture felt. "Thank you. Did you get any sleep?" "Not much," Caleb admitted. "Storm kept me up, and thoughts, too." There was a pause, short, but loaded. Noah looked away first, unsure how to navigate the invisible edge they now walked along. The coffee warmed his hands, anchoring him in the moment, but nothing could steady the quiet current pulling them toward a place neither should explore. They walked together to the well, boots sinking into damp soil. Noah set to work again, testing the valves and tracing the source of the malfunction. Caleb crouched beside him, observing with an attentiveness that bordered on reverence. "You're good at this," Caleb said softly. "It's all I've ever been good at," Noah replied, tightening a coupling. "Keeps my head busy." "Busy is easier." Caleb studied him with a seriousness that felt far too intimate. "Easier than what?" Then remembering, Noah murmured, regretting the admission as soon as he said it. Caleb didn't press, though his voice softened. "Everyone's carrying something they hope no one can see." The word struck deeper than Noah expected. He tried to refocus on the pump, but the honesty in Caleb's tone lingered, unsettling and strangely comforting at once. By noon, Noah discovered the real problem: a cracked pipe beneath the main housing, hidden by layers of rust and debris. Repairing it would take longer than expected, possibly the whole day. Caleb didn't seem bothered. "I'll help however I can," he said. "Besides, I don't mind you being around." The remark hung between them, dangerously sincere. As Noah worked, the sun broke through the clouds, coating the ranch in a soft, amber glow. Caleb guided him to a shaded area for lunch, bringing sandwiches wrapped in paper. They sat on the tailgate of Noah's truck, eating quietly at first, then slowly unraveling parts of their lives they rarely shared. Caleb spoke about the ranch, how it once belonged to his grandfather, how he planned to restore it despite setbacks. Noah found himself listening more closely than he intended, drawn to the passion beneath Caleb's careful exterior. Eventually, Caleb hesitated before revealing more. "There's someone in my life," he said, voice slow. "Ethan. Been together a long time." Noah nodded, keeping his expression neutral. "You mentioned him yesterday." "We've been disconnected," Caleb continued, eyes fixed on the distant hills. "He travels a lot. Says it's for work, but sometimes I think he's avoiding coming home. We hardly talk the way we used to." Noah remained silent, not because he didn't know what to say, but because he understood the ache too well. Caleb's admission wasn't an invitation, it was a confession. It carried the weight of someone trying to understand the fractures in his own life. "I'm sorry," Noah said quietly. Caleb exhaled, tension leaving his shoulders. "I don't even know why I'm telling you all this." "Maybe because I'm not part of your usual world," Noah replied. "Sometimes it's easier to open up to someone who won't judge you." Caleb looked at him, eyes warm with a gratitude that felt too intimate. "Maybe." The afternoon stretched on with a strange rhythm, Noah working, Caleb helping, their conversations weaving through practical matters and unexpected vulnerability. By the time the sun dipped toward the horizon, the replacement pipe was in place. Noah tightened the last bolt just as Caleb stepped closer, observing him with a quiet intensity. "You know," Caleb said, "it's been a long time since I felt this, comfortable around someone." The honesty struck like a spark in dry grass. Noah's breath caught, though he tried to mask it with a small, measured smile. "Caleb, we barely know each other." "I know," Caleb replied, his voice low, and maybe that's why it scares me. The moment stretched, dangerous, honest, suspended on the fragile edge of possibility. Noah's heart pounded, not from attraction alone, but from the unmistakable truth rising between them. Something was shifting, and neither of them could pretend not to feel it. Before either could say more, the pump released a steady, renewed hum, signaling it was finally functioning again, but no one knew the real pressure, emotional, unguarded, and unresolved, was only beginning to build. The next morning, the apartment felt colder, emptier, as if Ryan's presence alone had lost its warmth. I wandered through the rooms, noticing the little traces of our life together, the mugs on the counter, the throw blanket on the sofa, the photos on the wall, and yet, everything felt tainted, like a photograph with a crack running through it. I knew the moment had come for a confrontation I had been dreading, one that would either reveal the truth completely or shatter whatever illusion of love still lingered between us. When Ryan emerged from the bedroom, his casual smile faltered as he saw my expression. I didn't waste time with pleasantries. We need to talk. Everything. Now, I said, my voice firm, leaving no room for evasion. He nodded slowly, a flicker of apprehension crossing his features. I could see the hesitation, the brief glimmer of fear in his eyes, a stark contrast to the confident, charming man I had fallen for. That we sat across from each other at the small kitchen table, the silence thick and suffocating. I looked at him, searching for the honesty that had once been the foundation of our relationship. Ryan. I know everything, I said, my words deliberate. The texts, the calls, the meetings you tried to hide. I saw the messages. I know about her. His face paled, and for a moment, I thought he might break down. Instead, he reached out, grasping my hand, and whispered, Alex. I love you. I always have. The words hit me like a physical blow, twisting something deep inside me. Love. That simple, powerful word, now tangled with lies, deceit, and betrayal. I had clung to it for so long, believed in it fully, and yet, it felt hollow. I don't understand, I murmured, my voice trembling despite the strength I was trying to summon. How could you say that after everything? Ryan's hand squeezed mine, desperate, pleading, but I could feel the illusion slipping away. His love, his words, they were no longer enough to bridge the chasm he had created. I made a mistake, he admitted, his voice breaking slightly. I didn't want to hurt you, Alex. I got lost. His eyes were full of regret, but the regret did not erase the choices he had made, the trust he had shattered. I wanted to forgive, to reach for him, to believe in the man I had loved so completely, but my heart was no longer naive. Tears welled in my eyes as I stood up, finally stepping away from the table, from him, from the weight of everything he had done. Ryan, love isn't supposed to destroy the person you say it's for. I can't keep pretending that this is okay. The words were heavy, but they felt like the first honest thing I had said in days. That he fell silent, unable to argue, unable to stop the inevitable. I could see it in the slump of his shoulders, the desperation in his gaze. And yet, there was no hatred, no bitterness in me, only clarity. This was the end of a chapter, painful and messy, but necessary. That I walked to the door, gathering my coat, my bag, every item that felt like a piece of my own agency. Ryan's voice called after me softly, almost lost amidst the stillness. Alex, please, but I didn't look back. Not because I didn't care, but because I had finally understood that my worth, my dignity, and my peace could not depend on someone who had broken my trust so fundamentally. As I stepped out into the crisp air, the weight on my chest began to lift, replaced by a quiet resolve. The love I had felt for Ryan wasn't erased, it had simply changed. It became a lesson, a reminder that trust is fragile, and that self-respect must always come first. I let the door close behind me, feeling the sting of loss, but also a spark of freedom. In the weeks that followed, I focused on myself, on healing, and on rediscovering the joy that had been dimmed by betrayal. I learned to laugh again, to sleep without dread, and to trust in small ways, first in myself, then cautiously in the world around me. The story of Ryan and me didn't end with reconciliation or vengeance, it ended with growth, understanding, and a quiet affirmation that even shattered love can teach you the most valuable lessons, and though the memory of that day, the underwear, the lies, the "I love you," would linger forever, it no longer held power over me. I had survived the storm, and in doing so, I found something stronger than love alone, the courage to stand for myself, no matter what.